Yes.
All right. Okay. So good to see you, Mike.
And you, my friend.
So yeah. So maybe let's start with some updates and wins you'd like to share.
What can I say? Something. Yeah, I was doing a little bit of reflection on flow research today, this morning, as well as my AMP thing. I have to say now, I'm a little bit with AMP. You've been doing this AMP for a few years now, but so it's my third iteration.
Oh, okay.
And I just think I've heard it all before. With Ben, he's not during these little videos. He's not producing anything that's new or progressive. It's just repetition, which is fine, because it's different times, different kind of personal circumstances. Right. Means that when we rehear something, we take it a slightly different way because our circumstance or what knowledge has changed, right? Right. That's fine, but at the same token, it's nice to get something which is new, because then you can figure out, oh, okay, right, that's something I haven't thought about before. So there's that. But with the flow research, something that's one of the not criticisms, but I've been asked this question a few times now, because I say, look, I've got a cybersecurity company, I've got blockchain project with JCF. And to be honest, JCF as a concept, or joint commonwealth, has a multitude of different things that go on underneath that. Right.
Right.
And then there's a property portfolio. So it's like, aren't you doing too much? Aren't you focusing on? How do you do that? How do you manage that? I just think, what a silly question. Of course I can manage it, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it, otherwise would I? But at the same token, there's a fair question there as to like, how successful am I being in any one of these things? And in the flow research today, they were talking about, or the subject I was listening to was, the thing that struck me was, you can go 1,000,000 miles in 1,000 directions, or you can go 1,000,000 miles in one direction. And so in how I think Peak, I think it was, the guy who did the 10,000 hours analysis. You've read Peak, right? It is Peak, isn't it? Yes, it is Peak. I'm sure it is. So he's the guy who did the original analysis into, if you do something for 10,000 hours, then you become an expert, and that's the misquoted conclusion from that analysis, right? Which the guy sits there and says it's misquoted, but he doesn't. He says there's still some merit in what it said. But the point is, and again, I think we've seen this in a couple of different of these books that Ben's made us suggested we read, is that you can have a few things going on, right, that are taking you, broadly speaking, in a direction, but there might be one thing that you really focus on. And this was what it was talking about in flow, is that you maybe do it like that. There's this one thing that really creates a driving force for you, but these other areas which allow you, that might be your specialization, and this allows you to be more generalist. Okay. So I thought that's an interesting concept, because, and what I haven't answered to my own satisfaction for myself is, where do I sit with that based upon these comments of how do you manage to do all of these different things? So that's an interesting question and set of observations, and something to reflect upon, for myself, and gladly welcome any feedback on that. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a win. It's a win to ask the question always, but what I suppose it's an even bigger win when you've got an answer that you're comfortable with. And the other point I wanted to make was, damn it.
Okay.
It was
no
in my
worries.
head a minute ago.
Just share it whenever it jumps back. Okay, so maybe I'll share my wins and while providing a feedback. Okay, I think it can be tied together.
Please.
So my win has been, I did the Pocket Coach, as you suggest. It's done now. I haven't printed out.
Oh,
But oh yeah, I should probably share that. Yeah, let me do that. Let me share my Pocket Coach, on Slack or whatever. So, but basically, through the Pocket Coach, I realized something. The reason why it's being appreciated, it's effective, it's because it is the one thing exercise, actually. Okay, I don't know if
right.
you, besides Essentialism, the other book that's related kind of to the Essentialist concept is the book One Thing. I don't know if you read that book, okay, but
No, I
if
haven't.
recommended, okay, it's called One Thing. And the gist of that is 80-20 applies, right? So out of 10 things, you can get 2 things. That's probably the most essential because it still applies. Out of the 2 things, you can keep asking the question and get 1 thing. Okay, so that 1 thing actually will be the most effective to all your output and results. And in fact, by focusing on that 1 thing and amplifying, and also at any given time, you should probably only have 1 thing to work on. Okay, so it's both from a sort of a longer time horizon, but also within a sort of a shorter time frame, right? Now, what I realize is that, well, I do have these different life directions projects that I like to see happen. But for example, like for me, the 1 thing is to become the social billionaire who can serve billions of people and donating billions of dollars. Okay, so that's like the overarching 1 thing. And to do that, I want to create an accelerator that can incubate over 1,000 social enterprises with $1 billion of, valuation, right? And probably helping to create, social unicorns in the process. And also, serving billions of people, basic income, okay? And also, creating potentially a learning experience in metaverse for billions of people. Okay, so these are the so
You
these,
reminded me.
I'm sorry, yeah, Dan, right? Okay, all right.
No,
So,
you just reminded me what the thing I forgot.
oh,
So carry on.
all
I'm
right.
just let me make
Make a note. Yeah, make a note.
yeah.
So basically, as I'm writing the Pocket Coach, it kind of becomes clear for me that there is an overarching 1 thing. And then out of each of the project, for example, the 1 billion people, the billion people with basic income, right? That will break down to from lifetime to 10-year to 3-year, right? To 1 year, to quarterly, to monthly. So that's another kind of a 1 thing thinking, okay? The 1 thing here means that at any given time, you only do 1 thing, and you only have to do 1 thing towards your end goal, even if it's like 25 years down the road. Okay, so that's how Steve Jobs, I heard his Stanford graduation talk saying that since 17 he practiced the practice of looking at the mirror, thinking this is the last day of his life, and living by it. Okay, so the difficulty for me back then was how can you have this kind of really short, time horizon with your life while doing all the long-term stuff? And the answer is in the 1 thing thinking process, right? I can have a goal that's 25 years down the future. But if I'm able to align all the tasks, from the 10-year, 3-year, 1 year, quarterly, monthly, weekly to daily, right? Even if I'm doing only my to-do big 3 today, I am moving towards that 25-year future. Okay, so as in a domino, right? As in pushing a domino. So I think these are some of the thinking tools to really get clear, and that became clear in the Pocket Coach exercise. So I can see that why it's powerful is because it is an exercise in the 1 thing practice and thinking, both in terms of your overarching goal in life, but also, down to how you make that happen on a daily basis. Okay, so I guess that's both a sharing a win, but also a feedback to you is maybe that's a reflection. And part of the trick, this is a feedback, is to really put the time and give yourself the space to connect with your future self. So it becomes clear. like the reason why I can say these things and probably can articulate better than most other people is because I do hour-long jogging. I did it this morning as well. And I start by immersing myself into my 10-year future self. Used to be 3-year, right now it's 10-year. Okay, so I actually get to spend, at least, sometime, half an hour, 20 or 30 minutes, really living as my future self and asking myself the question if I already have everything. For example, today I realized my 10-year future self not only have financial freedom, but also probably already is at the relation freedom. It is achieved a certain degree of relation freedom, meaning that I get to speak, to talk to any person desirable. I don't have to work or to talk with any person I don't want to, and I get to be able to speak or engage with anyone I like to see. Okay, that's called relation freedom, right? So,
crikey, can you imagine a time, Shunyun, when you'll be free of speaking to me?
Okay.
I don't have to talk to him anymore.
No. It's well, I'm sure we will have quite interesting conversations. Okay. But
I hope so.
But then I can see myself in a state of moving towards purpose freedom. Okay, meaning that there will probably be some important goals at that time. And one of the goals I can already see, and I'm sharing this with you because this is related to JCF, which is I already can see that, achieving 1 billion people with UBI is something that's doable, okay, within our lifetime. I think the real challenge now is to get not just 1 billion people, but get the whole humanity under UBI, okay, or UBA.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's the real challenge, which I'm currently unsure if that's achievable within my lifetime. Okay. But I can definitely see getting 1 billion people. It's probably something we can see, within our lifetime, in 20, 30 years, but getting the whole humanity. What I also see is that we might want to build a very decentralized organization that can manage crypto assets in not just one fund, but hundreds to thousands of separate funds, independently managed, and using some kind of DAO architecture and potentially being handled by some international body. For example, United Nations, or maybe another organization that could be in charge. Okay, so I guess this is kind of when I'm connecting with my 10-year future self, those kind of visions becomes clear. And so then I backtrack, what does it mean for now? So I immediately see that what we might want to do is to create a crypto vault, okay, that can be decentralizedly authenticated and managed, meaning that it's a vault that doesn't have a single point of failure, okay? Having some kind of crypto vault that doesn't have a single point of failure will be essential. 10 years down the road, and also, in fact, relevant now even. And if we can start to, even just a tiny bit, start to investigate towards that direction or finding the solutions, that will help the 10-year future a lot. And likely will also benefit the current, our current selves, our current present. So I think that's the kind of the exercise Ben also talked about in the most recent. And, if you make your future bigger and better, it also will improve your present self in the present, because you have a much more better understanding in terms of what's the little thing that can do, but compound over time will have a dramatic impact for your future self, right? And you can start to make those adjustments and habit change. So I think that's the takeaway. So the other thing is the other win is the Ascender accelerator process is still ongoing. The course called Create Startup will launch in a week, next Monday. Okay, by the time we speak. And right now there's already 3 students that likely will. There's this Connor guy actually from M Platinum. He reached out to me. He'd like to join. Okay, so wow. He's actually an Irish. Okay, so I had a chat with him last week, and he
Did you understand him?
Yeah. Having practiced British accent with you.
Yeah, Irish are very different. Oh, to be sure.
Right. So yeah. So actually, yeah, and I also got another person who might be able to do funnel marketing on board. So right now, besides Joy, there are 2 people that potentially can help with the funnel marketing aspect. And by the way, I do see funnel marketing as the core essential digital marketing tool, that we want to adopt. Also for JCF, okay, also for whatever product and service we are selling in the future, because it is a very systematic approach to acquire, maintain, develop relation with clients and customers. Okay, so I mean that's, and just one final thought is that Dan, right, your friend Dan, who's because I've been actually listening to the YC, the space mercenary guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I am thinking we should invite him to the Ascender, actually the course starting next week. Reason is we will be going through all the YC materials, okay, together in a systematic approach. And it's just, half an hour commitment per day. And in fact, we'll teach some techniques to create more time within your week, right? With a small mini course first. So yeah, that's just a thought. But
it's a good idea. He's just as an outside, he's split up with his wife.
Okay.
And he hasn't told me.
Oh, okay.
His wife has told my wife.
Okay.
So I don't know what that's all about. So
All right.
I don't care. It's none of my business. It's just
Okay.
it's just interesting how that is. So
Okay.
okay, but yes,
Yeah, all right.
I'll reach
But
out to
that's
him
enough.
and I'll ask
Share.
him actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's quite a good idea.
Okay, all right.
Hold on a second, Shannon. Morning.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm on a call right now. Okay. So yeah, the thing that I'd remembered, right, is when you said metaverse. I was lying in bed last night, just drifting off, and I started thinking about the what's the direction of. Thank you very much. What's the direction of? This is what I get from Carlos almost every day. He gives me a piece of fruit. I think it's to bribe me into being nice to him, or he just thinks I'm unhealthy. So is crypto, or where is crypto going, right, as a whole? So, and now, what frightens me or makes me nervous is the exact thing that I think is the problem with crypto as a broad brush. Let's say Bitcoin and Ethereum sit there, and that's fine, because they are kind of like, I would put them in a box of blockchain. Right? I know they're cryptos, but I'd put them in the blockchain box.
Right. Okay.
All the other guys are this mass of, and then you might say, all right, well, look, stable coins, because they're linked pound to pound to the dollar, if that makes sense, or dollar for dollar, are there as well. But then all the other guys are just, generally speaking, promises. So they're either Ponzi schemes, or they're some other form of con, or they're just wishful thinking, instigated by people who have, cool ideas, but don't really, have been because of the nature of, it's a bit like the tulip kind of thing in the 1700s, right? In Amsterdam. Bubble. It's a bubble, basically. So when that bubble bursts, one might argue that it's deflated at the moment, but I think it will burst. If you look at the Coco, the previous guys I was working with, their share value has gone from $7 to less than a cent, about 1 cent. Right? But all that they're doing is that they're still maintaining themselves financially. It's because they've sat there and gone, we're going to create 1 billion tokens. And because they're on an exchange and they are traded, they are able to continue generating fiat currency based upon the tokens that people trade. It's a nonsense, it's a lie. And I think there are plenty of other crypto organizations which are doing that. Now, so the obvious argument to that is, well, wealth is not about that. Wealth is about the structuring of business in utilizing blockchain and moving forward with that. I get that. But I also think that if one of our statements is we will generate wealth from crypto assets, is there for us to be future thinking, do we need to sit there and deploy some form of additional financial mechanism? For instance, and I'm not saying it should be this, but let's say S&P 500, because will that mean then that we have a blend of traditional and crypto assets?
Okay.
Will that enable us to adapt? Well, look, we do the investment index fund investment here, and then we also do crypto investment here.
Okay.
And so it will help us in a way as well. It will detract from the whole crypto assets only type thing.
Okay.
But I wonder if that's a prudent kind of thought. Now I'm having this thought now. I'm not saying we should enact it. I think realistically it should be kind of, if we stick a placeholder and say, all right, 6 months, 12 months down the line, we'll come back to this or whatever. But I think we should be talking. I think we should be thinking about that in the future. But I don't know. I mean, it was just a thought.
Yeah.
That was it, really.
Quick feedback is yes, a resounding yes. Reason is because we want to tokenize our assets. Period.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Yeah. So our assets, including our existing financial instrument. In fact, I think our view should be that our assets types will move to blockchain base to be managed, because it's such a better mechanism for many reasons. Okay. So fiats will move there, stocks, shares will move there, minerals will move there, like all the commodities will move there. Real estate, lands, collectibles, whatnot, they will all be tokenized. It's only a matter of time and legal reform. But eventually, our assets, tangible, intangible, will be tokenized. So how do you actually get into the trend? How do you be part of the trend? How do you accelerate the process? How do you benefit? And that's wealth and JCF. I think that should be our pitch and story, our storyline, right? See our assets like Bill Gates, because he saw that everybody will have a desktop computer, like long before people were even imagine or thinking about that. He was able to leverage based on this insight and knowledge of the future that is to come, right? I mean, I think Dan Sullivan shared something like that as well. Like if you knew 20 years down the road, the top 5 to 10 tech trends, that's going to be commonplace and dominant. And you just backtrack to now and what you should do, you will have a huge head start from most people, right? I think that's essentially thinking. So I think if we start from the future, right, where all assets are tangible, intangible, are tokenized, the question we should ask is, how do we get in? How can we invest? And what are some of the prudent ways that help us to move towards that step by step? And I think by having a longer vision of 10, 20 years of UBI, of global funds, of decentralized funds, of even decentralized vaults that we're thinking now, I think we can prepare much better than most people or most companies.
True. Again, I think I've had this conversation where currency will become irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, if the barter thing takes off, which I think there's a great chance that it will, right? I mean, given currency or cash is in a shortage for most people, you see, and that's another thing as the wealth gap increase. This is what I'm already seeing, is that cash will be accumulated on the hands of increasing few. You see, the wealthy people, right? Most people will be without cash, but they still have to have cash to, to make investment, to make transactions, to trade, right? That actually create a demand for bartering and for effective bartering mechanism. This is what I'm already seeing, right? I'm already seeing from our own startup efforts. I want a marketeer, a copywriter, a developer, but I don't have the cash to pay for it, right? What can I do? Well, I do have some skills. How about let's trade? If you don't like my skills, then, right, we're stuck. Well, how about I tokenize my skills and you can have my tokenized credits. And you can use it later yourself or you can trade it with someone else. That's bartering, right? Okay, but that helps the transaction to get started, to collaborate, and to make value creation happen. So, okay.
Hold on a second. Are you ill? Are you ill?
No.
Have you got a cold?
No. It's
Allergy?
Yeah.
What to?
weather.
The weather?
Yeah.
You can be, you're living in England now. You can have a problem if you're allergic to the weather. What is it? Is it hay fever?
No, allergy.
To the pollen?
I don't know.
You don't have a cold?
No.
I don't want a cold.
No.
You wear a mask if you've got a cold, right?
No.
Okay, fine. Cool. Sorry, Shunyun. I just didn't want to get infected.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get you. And that that's actually. I'm glad you repeated that because it's just clicked a little bit further. I wasn't quite getting the whole bar thing, but if this is a token and it's a unit of time for my sales expertise, I'm giving it to you, and you can cash that in with me, or you can trade that off with somebody else.
Exactly.
I suppose the thing then is whether or not that unit of trade is as valuable to you once I've given it to you as it is to the person that you want to trade it to. Because if I say that that's worth $10 and you go, yeah, okay, I accept that that's worth $10 and we make a trade on that, you might offer it to somebody else at $10 and they'll go, I don't think so. That's only worth $1 to me.
Right, exactly.
Now, I suppose you then sit there and determine whether or not that $1 with somebody else is worth it to you at that point of the trade. But for me, I would sit there and go, I'd want the constant to be $10 because if I would have to sit there and yeah, anyway. But that's part of the trade.
The thing is, if you give me your credit for $10 now, it could become 20, 15 or 20 in the future. I can hold on to that.
Yeah, or it could become 1.
Yes. And also it could become 10 for me, but maybe 15 or 20 for someone who's in their need for a marketing or sales person skill, right? So I guess what I'm saying is value is different for different people at different times.
Yeah.
And that's why you want to capture it in a tokenized form first. It's exactly what currency is about. It's just that, anyway. All right, so let's jump to 3. All right, that's would you like to share your document?
Yeah, bear with me a second. I've just got to find the. Okay. Right.
And by the way, Joy has refined the El Salvador proposal. I don't know if you've seen that, but she has.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, I haven't looked at that yet today.
Okay, but anyway, so do the 3 hack first, right?
So where have we got to? I'm a little bit.
Okay, swim lane. I think we're onto swim lane.
Yeah. So, that's kind of depend. Did you revisit this concept?
No, not yet. It's pretty much, I think the 3 to 5 differentiating actions and also the 3 hack I think in the
So this is, I mean, here's the thing. I think what we got caught up on was this idea of what are the 3 to 5.
right, exactly, right. What
Because
are the 3 to 5?
this for me it's a logical process, right? And we discussed this and came up with these kind of areas, and then although that was me playing around with the diagram, it kind of like that was where that was at. But then there was I think we kind of we were off on whether or not we go back to here. Have I shared? Can you see the spreadsheet now?
Yes. The spreadsheet, yes.
So I'd taken all of this stuff and pumped it into this here.
Right.
And we were still debating whether or not actually these differentiators were the actual differentiators we were talking about.
Right, exactly.
Or whether it should be something more specific in that respect.
Right, exactly, right.
So I think that's where we had got to.
Right.
And I think that it's important because each one of these are kind of it matters because of each one of these quarter goals is dependent upon where we sit with them all, I suppose.
Okay, right. So yeah, I think I am, in my current understanding, I do feel that we want to be more specific about the actual, I guess, traits or differentiator that people can see as something unique and different, right? Because it's about the differentiating actions that we want to kind of take, right? Or the characteristics, right? The 3 to 5 really the differentiating actions. Yeah, I mean, like, for example, like UX, user experience, there can be different aspects to user experience, right? But probably there's like one very important, unique aspect of the user experience that we want to excel at, right? And that's why, like, here I picked onboarding, right? For example,
well, I suppose if you look at this one here, right, that's a white space for onboarding, and it's got an asterisk next to it, so we obviously chose it for something.
I think I think that was my choice, my personal choice. Okay, in terms of.
No, I thought did we not go through that though? And we deliberated on this.
Yeah, I think we have. Yeah, I think we have discussed. I recall we discussed this. Yeah. So
okay,
would
so
you
that
agree?
would be 10-minute onboarding. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So would you agree maybe that's maybe we could use the more specific for the 3 to 5 actions?
Well, if that was the case, then sorry. If that was the case, then we just need asset safety, reliability, onboarding, and accountability.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Okay, I see. You like to take those. Okay, to be the.
If we're going to follow the flow of the way in which we've
exactly,
done it.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, tell me if I'm being a little bit too pedantic.
Does that word means follow the path?
Yeah.
Or follow the process? I don't know that word, but okay. Yeah. I definitely see that if we can excel in these areas, then that would be something very different, in terms of existing services or that will really make us like stand out, I think, in the current crowds, because that is differentiators, you know, if we can excel in these areas.
Okay. In which case, then, because all of this stuff here was migrated into here.
Right.
So I suppose, you see, we could simply just cut and paste that, but that wouldn't necessarily make sense.
Well,
So,
we can adjust those that don't make sense, right? But we can use that as a starting point.
So I was at the, okay, so whether or not community is now in the first quarter, what for me, right? So what did Nick say? Do you have a profile of your people, and I can match that against the database that I've got, right? What is it that we think Joy can bring to the party with that? If Nick's got a, for argument's sake, if Nick's got a vast database and Joy's got the ability to kind of help us with creating the marketing around that sense of community, right? If we're building that community up, let me just see if I can share one other thing with you. If I can find it quickly, I will do. It's another outfit. Yeah, here we go. Let me just share another screen, which will make sense to this, the logic of this. So these guys,
right.
I'll send you this PDF. I think, I don't know if I
you
might
sent
send you the
already.
link.
You sent it already, yes.
Right, okay, fine. Much the same thing, right? It's about it. And this is one of the things that made me panic a little while I was going to sleep, right? Because if we're getting this far down the line that people are doing this, it's becoming more productized. And when something becomes more productized, it is less, it is out of the kind of early adopter stage. It's becoming into the majoritative stage, right? And that's when, you know, that's the difference between that's where your high values are disappearing, and that's where the automation and that's where the kind of process takes control, right? But, you know, I don't know how much these guys cost and whether or not they're worth it or not. But we've got those other guys, which are the $100 a month guys. And then you've got people like this. So that's two different forms. And three, if we think back to those guys that we met in Canada last year, right? So three different forms. Oh, no, not just before Canada, whatever. Three different formats for doing the same thing. But that all comes back to that whole kind of concept of community. So, that one, isn't it? So again, I you know, that's why I think for the next quarter, well, again, look at us, we're in quarter 2 now.
Right.
Of 23. So I know this is a little bit, you know, we're a bit out of date, but that's why I think
the latest. That's fine. In quarter 1, I think, yeah. Well, maybe what I would suggest is we start from the 2025 and then, you know, move back to see if there's anything we'd like to adjust. Okay. And because that, again, that's kind of the one thing thinking process. And maybe we can fill out, you know, quarterly goals if they're still empty. Okay. But yeah, so for example, okay, so 100%, okay, so first off, what do you think? Let's start maybe from 2025 and backtrack. What do you think?
I put that there because you had that at being 100% automated. I would have thought we would have achieved that long before.
Okay, yeah, so maybe move that forward, right? Maybe that's the end of 2024, for example, right? or
Yeah.
what?
I mean, onboarding, so 100% automated. Just, yeah, I mean, I suppose that's where we want to be, really, and within 10 minutes. So if those are the two end goals, then by the end of, if we had that and that goal, right, we're both at the end of 25. So what does onboarding mean? Onboarding means 100% automated within 10 minutes. Then those are the end goals. Now, if we actually, what does it take then to achieve them through this period here? What does that then mean?
Right.
What do we have to have in place for that to happen?
Okay. So all right. So this is some thoughts. Okay, so yeah, I think that this is helpful that we are having this discussion, because right now I have kind of a bit updated thinking on this, having been immersed in funnels recently. Basically, I think you know, when I wrote the 100% automated, it means that people can onboard without any other human involvement. Okay, so it's an automated process from when they learn about, you know, JCF to they are, you know, like participating. Okay, it's a fully automated process, which more or less is, I think, what you know, like exchange like Binance already does. Okay, they can pretty much onboard people even with KYC. It's automated. Okay, it's using AI to judge if you are, you know, uploading the right documents, things like that. I suspect they still have human checks, but probably only for very marginal cases. Okay, the majority is probably automated. So that's what I mean by 100% auto back then. But now I think it should also include the process of allowing people to see us, to learn about us. Okay, so that includes, for example, like some form of funnel marketing. Okay, that people can go through, let's say, a process where they learn about us and are, you know, engaged with the idea and decided to onboard, right? So that becomes, you know, like in the end, it can be an automated process in the sense that and then it will be just a matter of, you know, for example, you're spending ads, you're basically reaching, you know, either through targeted or other platform, or maybe some organic, I guess, referral process. So, okay, so also, I think probably we want to have a MAU goal here in terms of whether, you know, we are, you know, I guess that would be a metric as well for how successful we are regarding the onboarding process, right? Because like size reflects your process, whether it's effective, efficient, automated, scalable, right? So, for example, if there's already, like, I'm just saying, for example, you know, like Celsius, the crypto bank, it's got, I think, 100,000 customers, right? Likely most of them are onboarded with a very automated process without human effort, without any human involvement, right? They just simply learn and then they onboard, they KYC themselves. There's probably, you know, a process to that. So, yeah, I guess thoughts. So
okay. Sorry, I was just trying to be quiet.
Okay, so my feedback is mainly this. Maybe we should put two things down for this one. One, MAU goals, okay, at specific times. Second, specific functionalities that we think should be in place, right, in order to facilitate the, you know, the growth for those MAU targets. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But I mean, have we not? We've already done that, right? So we've got 1,000 plus MAU there. We've got 500 clients there. So they're in that kind of swim lane, if you like.
Right.
And I think that the whether or not you call it, community or whatever, there's bit. I think the busier end of this, my instinct tells me that bit there is going to be a lot more kind of hands-on than this bit here.
Okay. Right.
And whilst we should be, and this bit here ought to be refining what we've done in the previous 2 years.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I'm just kind of, from listening to what you've said, and just thinking about how we implement it.
Right.
I reckon that's what we're going to do. This is going to be, the first year is going to be kind of getting your hands dirty. The second year will be about automating that up.
Right.
So it's 100% automated. And then the third year will be about refining the process. So maybe we've got this to 80% satisfaction for us to go, for us. And this is about honing it down but that's probably, we'd probably say that it's 100% for the public here in this column, right, under Q5. By Q8, we're talking about it being 80% to our satisfaction. And then this is about refining, and then these quarters here are about refining the process and improving, so we can, I think what you just said about Celsius, and about any entity that increases itself, then yes, absolutely, it's a good idea. I think that's a good matrix.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the so I guess the 2025 the MAU goal. Okay. I think we let me share something. Okay. I think maybe we can refer back to that, because I don't think it's right now in the 3Hack document. Let me share this document which we were working on before. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we, this was the projection, the growing 10x per 3-year kind of projection, and starting from 2040, right? So by 2025, I think the goal was simply, was not simply, but was 10,000. Okay, that was enough as the total MAU. Okay, and obviously 1,000 of those we probably would like them to be like VIP level, meaning they are millionaires with $1 million in assets, right, in their networks, and those are the. So what do you think? Maybe we just put that as the MAU metric for 2025, end of 2025. What do you think? So can you see my screen now?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Meaning that something like this, like 10K MAU with 1K millionaire.
I'll just put VIP, maybe.
I'm sorry?
If you put VIP, it's shorter, and we'll just know that that's
1K
shorthand to mean anybody.
Right. Sure. VIP. Yeah. Better. Yeah. Okay. So so that should be like the end, right? End of 2025, right?
Yeah.
And if we go back to I guess this. So for 2024, the number there was 2,500. Okay, and then by the end of this year, it's 500. So what do you think of these? I guess these numbers.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, all right. So let me put this here then. Okay, so collision actually will be in Q2.
Q2. Yeah, we're already there, mate.
So I think we can probably put this, yeah, we can adjust a bit. So 500, yeah, I think by the end of this year, 500 is a reasonable number, right? Don't you think? And, you
Yes,
know,
yes.
probably something like 1,000, right? Here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we might want the 100% auto by start of 2025, right? And auto KYC. Okay. Actually, the invest withdrawal, this is, I would say this is here. We just, you know, we are about to launch the thing now. And invite referral, actually the invite referral, okay. This is actually something I think I'm also aiming before collision. So this is also with the invite referral thing.
Is that a realistic number? Having 100 MAU, 100 MAU plus from collision? Well, we've already got 100.
Oh yeah, sorry. So it should be 100, so 200 MAU at collision. Or
okay, is that realistic?
Is that realistic? I think that depends on how we are going to market. Okay, so this is what I told the tech team. Okay. You know, we want to have this referral process done by May and then have 1 month before collision to grow the current user size. Okay, so that could be through various kind of quote unquote marketing efforts to see if that, you know, it could be personal referrals, invitations. Obviously, when the donation tokens are released, we should expect some additional people to be on board, right? Because they're receiving these gifts, basically free money, right? From people they already know, right? So that should be, you know, we should expect some.
That in itself, Xunyun, is an interesting concept. I know you've said it about it being the kind of the organic growth kind of thing, but what we're then talking about is if you assume then that each investor will donate to at least one other person that they know, you're getting 2 people for the price of 1.
Right, exactly, right. So basically, yeah. So I think the design of that is you know, a viral mechanism, right? That's a viral mechanism. So actually, I would like to move this to here. Okay, to design a user experience so that it's okay. So actually, I'm thinking maybe this is.
If you well, no, wait a minute. If you're going to onboard in 10 minutes, you've got to have KYC automated before that.
Oh, you think that's KYC automation before that? Okay, I see.
Well, yeah. I mean, how can you do it otherwise? If you want to have onboarding in 10 minutes, then you're going to have somebody physically do the KYC.
So I think that will be kind of the order then, right? I guess at least in terms of sequential order, right?
Yeah, there's no community there though, and I think that's an important part of it. If you look at how existing cryptos have developed okay, so the existing cryptos have developed through a community mechanism, and the community mechanism is really, really important for them. It's where people can sit there and go blah 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 blah, right? Positive and negative. Okay, is a community mechanism important for accountability?
It is.
Is it important for people to assess whether or not that it's a viable kind of investment mechanism.
Yes, true, yes, right.
So, you know, your community of IFAs will influence your success of your financial mechanism.
Okay, I see.
So I think the community is important, but I'm not quite sure how important it is to us for onboarding as opposed to accountability, and whether or not it sits in both areas.
Okay,
But
I think we can be more specific regarding which aspect of community, you know, that we like to develop or build in relation to, let's say, accountability or onboarding aspect, right?
Yeah, okay. And I think, you know, the idea that if we go some form of database acquisition, click funnel kind of marketing,
right,
onboarding, that block there is a community. So maybe, you know, we might have different forms of marketing data acquisition. Then we have our community that they funnel into, and then that community has the funnel kind of process there, and then at the bottom of that we've got our onboarding. I mean, I'm just kind of.
So let me put it maybe funnel based community building. How about that?
Sorry.
You all right?
Yeah. I just need to turn the heating on, I think.
Okay, all right. So what do you think? Funnel based community building, or
yeah, sounds good to me.
Right. So basically, yeah. So all right. So right. I say we can think of what are some of the things that we want to see for the other quarters. Okay, but how about that's it for onboarding? What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the next thing, I think it's asset safety. So, all right. So I think you have here the government adoption piece. Let me just copy the styles here. All right. So asset safety. Well, let's start from 2025. Maybe the first governmental adoption, is that something you think 2024 or 2025?
Well, depending how quickly we get back to El Salvador, and depending on whether or not we strike the right chord, it could be 23, right?
Okay.
So it's kind of like, I think it's realistically, in the old sense of the term, realistically, like being pessimistic, right? Rather than realistic, let's use the right words. Being pessimistic, how quickly could we possibly move it on where other, you know, where governments would actually take us seriously? And I think you would need to have a time frame that allows for the changes in law, the development and maturity of the market, that kind of stuff.
Okay, all right. So maybe that's put it. Yeah, I think these are good timelines. Government adoption, institution adoption. Okay. Maybe I'll put it adoption, meaning that we do have institution clients. But maybe I should also define what do we mean by government and institution? What does that mean for, let's say, AUM wise, right? What do you think? Because we do have like MAU targets here, so maybe we could use it, you know, like an AUM target for.
Okay, fine.
Right? So that's I think we can refer back to this one. The AUM target was actually there are two numbers: 150 million for the main fund and 1.5 billion for the VIP, which I think the institutional government qualifies in this category as well, right? So if that's 1.5 billion, total, what do you think the government should be, the government number versus maybe the private sector number? And
Well, it depends on how many you want to have in there. I mean, if you take El Salvador as an example, where they put $200 million into Bitcoin, right when it was at its top, then what does that mean? Does that mean that I think they're fairly unique. But does that mean that other governments won't kind of see the joy of that?
okay, so El Salvador put in 200 million. Is that the number? I mean,
that's the number that's what they actually bought in terms of Bitcoin.
Okay, I see. So,
I mean, if you're going to put an AUM number, then I think 50 million is a significant amount, but it's peanuts for a government.
right. So how about 500 million for government, since we do have 1.5 billion as the total AUM? What do you think? Like 1/3 of that comes, like the idea would be like 1/3 of that will be contributed from a government client. Do you see the logic? Yeah. Okay, so
fine. Yeah, no, fine. Yeah, we're putting numbers in at the moment, so we just got to figure out whether or not.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can also put down 1.5. This is total AUM, right? Okay, so okay, how about that? Okay, 1.5 billion total AUM. So in here, the total is I think the total was 150 million. That was the number in this document. Okay. 150 million. So all right. I think we did have 150 million AUM as this year's goal. Okay, at some point, if you recall that. So so that will be from an institution client.
Or institutional clients.
Okay. All right.
Same with the government thing. It isn't necessarily one government. It's multiples, isn't it?
Right. Okay. All right. So regarding asset safety, I do think there are a few milestones that, okay, so here, how about here? Like, I think the overall AUM. Okay, so we had the number of 2.5 million. That's right here. And sorry, 150 M is the okay. There wasn't a number here. That was 25 million for the okay. So this number was missing. But anyway, the 2023 quarter was 150 M.
But sorry, what's asset safety got to do with assets under management?
Oh, okay. So it's just, I guess, an objective indicator in terms of the trust that people have placed on you. It's not directly related, I guess. That I guess it would be an indication for for how much trust people are placed on the system, right? So So I think the idea is that.
So if we're going to use Celsius at 100,000 users, what was their kind of assets under management?
Okay, I think AUM at the time of the bankruptcy was a little bit over 1 billion. Okay.
Right.
But earlier that year, I think their AUM was something 10 times bigger than that. Okay.
So in reality, then if you're talking about that, then it could be a lot bigger than the numbers that we're talking about.
Right. Okay. So
And also, I think from the point of view of comparisons, we should maybe, from a superstitious point of view, we should not name failed entities.
we should not what?
Name failed entities.
Made fail entities.
Name. Why have a named entity that's failed be a benchmark?
Oh, be the comparison, be the benchmark. You mean?
Yeah, for our success. I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? I don't think we should.
Yeah. No, that definitely.
I know that it's. I know that it's kind of like easy, but okay. Okay, so 20 billion assets under management. That's
This was
pretty awesome.
back in August, right? Okay,
Right.
so right, so that was August something. So it's about in this range, right? It's in about this range. So you can also look at their growth, right? Basically, that is a bit over a year, right? And they have grown from 1 million to 20, but obviously there is some crypto growth during that period. So I think that's the ballpark, right? To in the tens of billions range. I think that's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in that kind of in that way, these numbers are going to be pretty superficial, really, aren't they? We're on the assumption that we're going to be on a similar sort of trajectory, but for a longer period. So perhaps that means that we'll have a slightly slower growth, but it will still be in that sort of upward trend, because slower growth over a longer period of time is better than, it's more consistent than high growth over a short period of time.
Right. Agree. Yes, agree. So
because we're building something that's going to last forever, not something that is a great idea but is not backed by sound business principles.
All right. So how about 15 million AUM by the end of this year? Do you think that would be, so it's kind of like 10x in the first 3 years in terms of
I think total? I mean, like, look, that's 10x every year over 3 years, which is pretty much, that's outrageous growth. Interestingly, right, so in my coaching session last week, the guy who's standing at the front of the class giving the coaching sat there and he says, realistically, he's got a problem with 10x. He doesn't think it can happen. He goes, we did 44 million last year out of the combined group of companies. I don't realistically think I can stick a zero on the end of it and say next year we'll do 440, or that we'll do 440 by year 5. So he said, I was having dinner with Dan and I said, what about this? And Dan was saying, well, it's 10x different, not 10x necessarily better. Now, it might be that would be the answer to this particular fella, because I think depending on the industry, you can actually 10x. But to 10x is a massive jump if you're just simply sticking a zero on the end of a number.
Right.
So I know how to take my property portfolio and 10x it. I know how to do that. I know how to do that because I know what strategy is I need. But to do that with that strategy, there's certain requirements I have to have in place, and one of them is funding. So a source of funding. But anyway, it's still a hard task, because once I had the funding, then I'd have to go through and do the marketing, and then I have to do the research, and then I have to do the property analysis, and then I have to do the financial analysis on everything. So it's just there's all of these steps that you need to take to get there. And I think so. The numbers don't scare me because they're just numbers. But actually, if we want to do that, then I think for me, if you're just talking about, I suppose I think the moment we start putting ourselves out there as being a place to be, we've got to make sure that we're very, very secure, because I'm sure there's been plenty of examples where other exchanges and crypto entities have been hacked and money's been lost.
Okay.
And so we have to have sufficient
Security measures, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing that we need to talk about. And that's, and I think that if you're saying, well, all right, let's get to it, why would $15 million worth of AUM trust us? What is it that we have in place that will give them the security to trust us with that amount, regardless of whether or not that's one individual or 1,000 individuals?
Right. Okay. So basically, what I would suggest here is ledger solution being adopted. Okay, this is something Ledger is one of the top crypto wallet companies. They do have a solution.
Yes, we're talking about a hard wallet, right?
Code. Let me turn on the lights. Yes, it's hardware wallet. So what happens is they do have these solutions actually, back in 2019. So I'm sure it's a lot more advanced now, or affordable.
I think I've got one from 2019 actually, but I've never used it.
But this is an enterprise solution where the assets, if you want to move them, depending on how many people you want to be authorized, it's 3 to 5 people. It's called, I think, Ledger Blue. I think that was the code name. Basically, it's bank level kind of access to the crypto assets, and it's actually on some shock sensitive place where if anybody tries to go into the room, it wipes out, and it wipes out the private key or makes it defunctional, and you have to get all the parties together in order to recover things, something like that. Okay, they have that kind of solution. It's not cheap. Okay, but and basically, they charge by whether your assets is $10 million below or above, like that's the basic threshold, 10 million. So if we get to 15 million, right, I think we can definitely consider, adopting some ledger solution. And in here, I'm thinking like a decentralized vault. Okay, so decentralized vault, I think that's something we probably will want to, either
just putting the radio on there.
Okay.
I'm still listening. I'm just
okay.
Opposite side of the room.
I guess the idea is that we probably want to develop something in-house, or basically craft something that's kind of a, like our style, our solution towards this asset safety issue. Okay, because I think in the end, I can already see that for us to really be helping billions of people, or over 1 billion, it cannot and it should not be, a single fund. Okay, or at least the fund has to be, like smart contract based and not human based. Okay, kind of like the Bitcoin contract, right? I mean, sorry, the Bitcoin or the Ethereum contract. It's probably managing billions of dollars, but it's not by human. It's our code, right? It's code. It's computer code. That's being tested, proven. Being put onto the field. It's probably some kind of mechanism like that that's going to be managing billions of dollars. And basically, we like to move people out of the picture as much as possible. Okay, or at least it's going to be separated into hundreds to thousands of smaller, vaults or repos, asset stores, so they can be independently managed. So the risk is mitigated. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think we can roughly, put these. And for now, I think for quarter 2 and quarter 3, okay, I would say that in this quarter, what we can do is to, rely on co-wallet safety, if that's something that we can do. And okay, system safety is yeah. Okay. Again, I think this is more development resource, whether we can, support that. So this means, so we're not relying on Binance. Okay, it actually means that we want to move it to our cold storage, but also have the keys being, accessible by more than one person. So I can share with you right now, the keys to our cold storage wallet is, I have one copy in my home behind me. The other is in a bank safe. That's, in case anything happens to me, then, my wife knows how to access that, or my family members, and to get access to the cold storage secret key. So I think that's currently the kind of the redundancy that we have now, right? So I think the one thing we can implement this quarter is to move our assets out of finance and just keep it in cold storage, unless we are moving to position. So what do you think?
Yes, I guess whatever's the best.
That right now it's convenient. We're in Binance, but should Binance fail, like Celsius or like the other.
Is it likely to though? Because I mean, my wife's in the trading groups that my wife's a part of. They're all kind of going, Binance, don't trust it. Oh, it's going to fail. I just think that's a lot of kind of, uppity people that don't really know what they're talking about, flapping their hands about in the air.
Right.
What's the reality of that?
I frankly don't think we know, because we don't know CZ personally. Okay, we don't know the person personally, but just judging from what I understand about, I guess the nature of the industry, and they're the number one, and they have been the number one for a while. When you are number one, it becomes harder for you to, I guess, to fail. And also I know CZ himself is, well, he's been around. I mean, Binance, I don't know if you know the history of Binance. That's like the fifth generation trading system he's built. Okay. like he was doing this stuff professionally, like before he founded Binance. This was already like the fifth iteration of similar systems, trading systems he's built. He was working for other people, and then he was the CTO of another crypto company before he founded Binance. So, like this guy is, very experienced. And he's no Sam Altman. I mean, sorry, the bank SBF. Okay, he's not a young MIT kid who got rich in an instant. So I place a certain. I mean, I would consider Binance pretty trustworthy. Like fairly trustworthy. But still, it's a matter of whether you're relying your trust on this third party, or on your own company, your own structure. So.
Okay, cool. No,
right.
I mean, because I asked Nick about this, and he was talking about using BISC. So I looked into BISC, and it's like, wow, bloody hell. That to me is, I don't know, it's interesting. It's almost like BISC is more risky because it's you and a direct trade with one other person. You're trading with one, but whereas an exchange is much more convenient. And it's far more automated. But then BISC is fully decentralized, and it doesn't have to. You take your fiat currency and you put it into BISC, and then you make your transaction with the party that you're going to transact with, and you get your cryptos and they get your fiat. It doesn't have to have all the kind of shenanigans that Binance has to conform to just so it can get the kind of approval of the standard banking community or
Right.
political community.
Okay.
So it's interesting, but again, I that was a little bit of a sidetrack. I suppose the point being is that are they likely to fall over and die, as so many have before? And although I don't think number one is necessarily the guarantee, it's certainly a sense of credibility. So
I think by nature and in long term, that's viewed from a long term perspective. From the longer term perspective, exchange should be what its name says, exchange, right? I mean, it should not be storage, essentially. Exchange or exchange, right? It's
Right.
a place to exchange cryptos. But in terms of storage, particular asset safety, I think that is something we want to keep under our own control. You know, obviously the liability becomes on our side for sure. And that's a burden, that's a responsibility. But again, that is the responsibility I think by default, we assume to take.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's again, that's
okay.
Yeah. So that's that.
Okay, sorry, that was I just had another idea then. So burden, responsibility. Oh gosh.
Are you thinking? Are you?
No, I'm trying to remember what it was I wanted to ask.
Oh, okay, all right.
Exchange. No, maybe it'll come back.
Okay.
Okay.
So would it be all right for this bit? And
yeah, I think that's fine. Look, the important thing is, Jinyan, I mean, it's like we've done it together. We're creating it together, and that's the important thing.
Okay. All right.
I suppose on the point about the finance and the holding of keys and all the rest of it, at some point that should be something that that burden, as you call it, that responsibility should be shared.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'm not that keen to take it on, to be honest with you, but I appreciate that there should be a sharing of that at some point.
Right. Okay.
And at whatever point we deem it to be the right time to do it is, one of us or both of us will sit there and go, right, now's the time, so let's get moving.
Right. Okay. So obviously this is something we want to maybe figure out a good solution for as well. Okay. Yeah. Because, for example, like right now I have total control over the assets. Okay. And for example, like
you should follow that. You should follow that with a.
but in the past, what happened was, this really does come down to a trust issue. I think in the I think JCF, just for the record, I guess also for the history, JCF has gone through, I think, you're the third co-founder. Okay. I've been different since. So
blimey, if anybody, if these were marriages, Chunyan, you'd be a very liberal guy.
Also gotten a lot more experience.
Yeah, just treat me gently.
For marriage, I don't I only have so far one.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah,
you don't want many of them.
so basically, I think in the first one, the access to the assets were shared. Okay, the second wasn't. Okay, it was mostly myself alone, and but I think this is what we can do. I can probably share the access with you when we meet. Okay, this June. Okay, so there, and probably
I think that would be a question that I might ask if I was investing seriously, or a prudent investor would sit there and say, well, okay, that's great. I put my money in. Who's got control of it? what happens if. So I don't think, I'm not particularly bothered about it, to be honest with you. I couldn't care less if it was all with you or whoever. Well, if it's all with you, that's fine. If it was shared with somebody else other than me, then I'd want to know more about them.
Right.
But I think I don't feel that I need to have any level of control personally. Having said that, though, it's a little bit like Coca-Cola directors all have a component part of the recipe, right? So in that respect, I think any investor, serious investor, will sit there and will want to know the answer to the question, what happens if? And that's the only reason why I think we should have an answer for it, which allows for no single point of failure.
Right.
That's the direction I would think we should go in.
Okay.
But
yeah, I would definitely agree. Okay, so I think one of the things to do is to survey what are share access for crypto assets. Okay, to what are some safe ways to share assets, access to crypto assets, right? So, and at some point, I think obviously we will have a much better solution or mechanism for this. But for the time being, I personally think that, you know, it should not be a single point of failure. That's for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Although right now there is already, you know, it's storing my safe, you know, in Taiwan, but that for you to recover, that would be like, or I guess maybe to coordinate that would be an effort on its own. So I do feel that maybe that, you know, like both of us have access to the cold storage. Okay, that will be, you know, for now, perhaps the, you know, the best solution for the time being, until we find something that's, you know, better and that can be more decentralized, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
and
it's just,
and so I have another question as well.
Right.
Which we've kind of touched upon, and probably, actually, I think, I don't know what, it must be quite late for you now, but and I ought to get on with my stuff here as well. I'm concerned about what, I think I mentioned this before, but Taiwan as a country and the influence of China. And if you look at the way Russia has gone into Ukraine, logistically, I mean, some people would argue that the United States have pulled chip production out of Taiwan and moved it into the States because they, you know, they have that same concern. And if things are what's the word, centralized there, then is that a liability?
Right. Okay. So basically, you're fully right. We should not rely on Taiwan as the geolocation for the, you know, storage of access for the secret key as well. Okay. So obviously, having it in another country, in another location, definitely helps. Okay, or in another safe deposit. Okay. So yeah. From what I understand, like this is something CZ himself, you know, like he designed Binance as a decentralized organization, as, you know, as there will not be single point of failure. And this is something I think, again, when I was consulting with my 10-year future self, I also saw this as quite essential, that when we're building JCF and as we're spreading to different, you know, like countries, like let's say Canada, I think we want to design exactly decentralized, you know, decentralizedly, like loosely coordinated organizations as well, so that we don't really have a single point of failure. And at least in terms of organization, legal entities, we can jump from place to place, you know, like in an instance, you know, let's say Taiwan is being occupied, then, you know, let's say JCF, UK can take over immediately. For example, right, as the main legal entity, for example, right? I do believe we should have that kind of flexibility, right? I mean, given what we're intending to do, right? and also the amount of assets we want to manage. So, but this all fits well with the crypto blockchain mentality, actually, of decentralized control and relation. So yeah, I think we are although we're not there yet, I think we're well on our way. I guess that's what I like to say. Okay, so yeah, Mike, thanks. I think today's discussion has been very good. So I guess would you like to do a 1 minute quick thing, like takeaway summary for today?
1 minute? I don't think I can do anything in a minute. It takes me that long to take a pee.
What's the good, I guess, experience? What's the good? What's the not so good? What's the improve? Maybe quick.
I think the fact, look, I felt that the best thing was actually going through the detail of the free hack together in the way that we did. That was really important. Okay, because it's good. It is great to do it ourselves and do it separately, but I think that the real gold comes out of both of us sitting there talking it through and spinning off of each other, because what that does is it consolidates for both of us exactly what it is that we're doing, and therefore when we present it to other people, it's going to be consistent in that respect. So and you know that's great. I suppose the what can be improved. I guess there's a difference between us coaching each other and being accountability partners for each other. Is different to building the company, and I think it would be beneficial for us to separate those two kind of functions, because I do value the accountability bit. I really do. Okay. I do like the kind of, because I don't have a platinum pod. The gold pod is okay. The dynamic isn't as good as it was, and they don't have quite the same thing in coach. So that for me is so having that is really important. But I think that distracts us, because we spend half an hour talking about various different bits and pieces.
Right. Okay.
So there you go.
All right. So anything to improve? I guess
improve.
Idea. Right?
Yeah, if we're gonna do if we say free hags is a subject, then I think we should go all in at free hags straight away and just not dilly dally. If we say that whatever the subject is, and if we're going to do an accountability thing, let's say we're just going to do that, and that be that. Okay. See, I think the challenge that you and I have is that you're in Taiwan, I'm in England, and if we were running a business in the traditional context, we'd be sat opposite over, like me and Carlos. And what I know will happen next is I'll sit there and I mean, you can't see it, but on the board there,
it's that close.
You know, and I've already prepped that ready for when Carlos and I have our conversation today. This is the subject matter, and it's just different than having to do it over Zoom, because there's 5,000 miles of difference and 7 time zones. Okay. So that, which naturally shortens everything, which is good sometimes, right, but is not good in others. Right. I see. Okay, great. All right. So my takeaway is security for today. I think security was really highlighted through the process. I think it's an issue probably I also want to spend more attention on, to find a good enough solution. Right now we have like no solution other than relying on the founder's integrity, which you cannot avoid, but it's something we like to get out of the way, right? Because we don't want to have single point of failure, although that's harder to avoid in the beginning. But the not so good part, I think it's I do recognize that time might be shortened if I did more pre-planning in terms of a free hack thing. Okay, yeah, but so I think that's probably, if I already have a version, then we can just jump right into discussions. In terms of improvement, I think I will do some of the pre-plan before, but also I would suggest maybe we can seek.
either, okay, yeah, this is another thing for Thursday. Okay, because of the course that's about to start, and I'm thinking of having weekly mastermind in our Thursday time slot, okay, for 1 hour. So that could shorten the time in Thursday. Obviously, you're invited, okay, for that as well, because you mentioned interest. But the other thing is, I think maybe limit the wins to, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. So, or.
But that's the account. See, that's the thing though. The wins and the feedbacks
Are valuable, are useful.
It is, because it's, I don't, but then again, we either do it on Monday or we do it on Thursday, but we don't do it on both.
Right. Okay.
Because if you get drawn into that whole
okay.
thing, I mean, the only, you know, look, Ben would go start with some wins and people would yabber on about their wins during platinum, right? And, you know, if you went to the Thursday one and then you went to the Friday one, then you would be doing a double dip. But in reality, most people don't. Most people, well, not most people, but some people were only going to one of them. And so it made sense that he does it the same.
Okay.
But I don't think you need to do it for each meeting.
Okay.
But, you know, and I think that then becomes
sense. That makes sense. Okay. So maybe we'll do the win on Monday, because that's usually we have more learner. Okay, and on Thursday just jump right in, right? And also I think try to limit the wins, and I guess the accountability to 20 minutes.
See how it goes, eh?
That's our challenge. But I think we can get good with deliberate practice.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, or the other way is to share a win quickly and jump right into the discussion, and we will do the accountability at the end, right? Let's say the last 30 minutes, right? Then we will be forced by the cutoff point, right? For the next whatever. And also we'll be more relaxed. That's another approach. Just shift the order, right? What do you think?
Yeah, we can try whatever we want. I don't know.
Okay, let's try that. How
no,
about that? Yeah, maybe just share one thing, and I would jump into the business, and then do the accountability at the end. Okay, and see. Well, yeah. Okay. All right. So
so I'm seeing you on Thursday, yes or no?
Thursday, same time. But I think we'll want to discuss potential, time slot change, because I'm thinking of utilizing that slot for the the what's called the create startup. And also, oh yeah, so
where does that leave you and I then?
I'm sorry?
Where will that leave you and I?
So, well, I think either we'll find another time, okay, or maybe, an hour later. So that would be, because that's intended to be, an hour, and that will be, so just push back 1 hour, for.
Okay. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to lose that hour to somebody else, to another Junyan project.
Okay.
As far as Commonwealth is concerned, then we need to make sure we don't want to lose more time out of it. We're already we already don't spend enough time anyway. In my eyes, we should be spending more time together, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Not less.
Okay.
So that's my only concern in that respect. So if it's going to be an hour, but it's going to start at 10:30, not 11:30, fine. Okay.
All right. Okay. I'll think about,
that's not a problem.
What would be a good way to I guess address. Okay.
And then as far as being involved with the whole accelerator thing, yeah, I'll let Dan know. But it's open there. I have no idea whether or not it's a value to the program to have me in any format. If it is, then as the I suppose program creator, manager, whatever you want to call it, you need to let me know what you think is the most optimum way of utilizing me, knowing what you know about me relative to what you know about the program.
Right.
So that just steer me, because I have no idea. I've just put that as an open thing. So that's that. The other thing then is, I swear, I don't know why I'm not getting this, but you've sent me well, not you, Poet has sent me invoices. There's no bank details on it.
Okay.
So, and I know you said it's somewhere in the Dropbox. I've gone in there, I've tried to get back in there, and I haven't been successful. I haven't spent hours searching.
Okay.
I went and tried to do it within 5 minutes, and I didn't get anywhere. I just need the IBAN account, just that kind of address, sort code, IBAN, and address, and name, obviously, those 5 bits of information, and then I'll transfer $2,000. I just can't do it.
All right.
But I don't. I thought I'd ask for that. And what I get in return is the invoice. The invoice doesn't have that information on it. It doesn't have any of the payment details on it. It's just an invoice saying $2,000.
Okay.
So, I can't. Otherwise, I can't pay it. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to pay it into. If I can pay it into a dollar account, then you'll get $2,000, not because what I've noticed banks do. I transfer $2,000 and I pay £15 to do that. You get 1,987 because your bank is taking off a cut.
Right. That's right.
And I've noticed that happens. I've made some payments to the US and exactly the same. Right.
Okay. Right.
So I end up owing more money than I'm actually paying. So it's kind of like, that's. So I'd rather just make a dollar-to-dollar transfer.
Okay.
If that's okay.
I think last time it was sent to our US dollar account, correct? I think because I recall some. No, it was.
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I'll clarify. Okay. Basically, we do have a US dollar account. We do have a US dollar account for JCF.
Was it sent to a US dollar account, really?
Yeah, I recalled so because we had to convert that to Taiwanese dollar, actually, I think by hand. Yeah.
Really? Oh. I'll go and check then. Maybe I'm talking bollocks. Sorry, Chanel.
Like last time. I think last time that was the case. Yeah. So anyway. All right. All right. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
My bad then. Sorry. I'm not paying attention then, obviously.
Okay, no worries. All right, so thanks. Okay, and okay, so what I'll do is I'll add you to the Ascender group. Okay, so you can invite Dan. Okay, and if he's interested, he's welcome to join. Okay, to the upcoming training stuff. There's going to be a charge though of 500. Okay, for 2 months. That's also
if he joins.
Yeah, if he joins, but he can decide if that's valuable, or not. Okay, and there's a free 7-day course he can already take for more time. It's basically a mini.
I'm not paying $500 to join this.
Right? No. You're there to observe, and you're there to observe and basically learn about potential clients for JCF. For our wealth platform, because they could all become our clients when in terms of the funding and also issuing company tokens and that. And I think it's good to I guess try to at least get some ideas about what they're doing, what I guess the thinking process. Okay, so
sure.
All right. Okay. All right, great. And take care. Okay, all right.
See you later, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, take care.
Bye.
Great day.